All praises to the Most High. This is Brother Elliot, and I'm happy to be here today, just kind of to share my heart with you and just talk about some things that have happened over the past few years and how we should look at today going forward. You know, back in about 2020, when the world was shaken by the sickness and so many, and the agenda behind it, we noticed that lives were totally disrupted in a way that when I was able to speak to certain people that I knew, a lot of people would have the common phrase or the common sentiment that, things are not going to go back to normal. That what we did and conceived to be normal was never going to be the same. And honestly, that's the truth. And I believe I've even said that myself, although I always like to watch and see how, things play out before I say too much. And so in the beginning, with all of with the abruptness and the dramatic changes in so many ways where basically the world was shut down and flipped upside down, that, that was pretty traumatic. And I would say probably, of course, I can't go back beyond my lifespan, my lifetime, but I would say this is probably one of the most, probably the biggest physical and spiritual shakeup that the world has known in recent history. Let's put it that way. All right. So, what's come out of it? Well, we know what it is. We know it's the beginning of what they call the Great Reset. And yes, things may not return to what we quote unquote call normal. However, a new normal is here and underway. And there are so many things that have happened and that are continuing to happen still that we must pay attention to and make sure that we don't fall asleep and we don't lull ourselves to sleep or we don't get caught off guard as things continue to progress in the future. And I say this because even though we can move about freely, visit friends, visit family, work, and do certain things without the pressure of the powers that be mandating and enforcing such intrusive regulations on our lives, we must know that there is something that is underway that has changed how the world will continue to be, and more changes are in the future, because as this world dies and falls away in preparation for Christ and preparation for the kingdom to come, we need to know that in these last days we need to stay diligent and stay faithful, even in the downtime. There were so many times that we were able to just move about freely and do whatever we wanted, and then that was stripped away from us. And then all of a sudden it seems like now things are kind of almost resemble in certain ways. So I'm not trying to go all the way back there, and I'm not trying to pretend like things have not changed. This is very important. But it does seem like there's some things that we're able to do that I'm surprised even today that we're able to do, because things were so dramatic. However, as the things were rolled out and done so on purpose, I believe that a lot of the check marks or the check boxes were checked off the plan. Okay, so there were a lot of people who were injected with certain things, and for a season, let me stop for a second. I'm gonna go to this. I don't know how many of you guys realize this, or if you notice this yourself, but the people who took the solution in order to fight the cold, we realized that, or I was able to see, and some people were able to see that those people are off just a little bit.
The one thing that people are talking about, that now that they're seeing that their neighbors, their relatives, people who are close to them are dying after getting the shots or are being seriously injured after getting the shot, the one thing that is not mentioned, or thus far has not been mentioned, is some people perceive personality changes. My wife and I, for example, have a favorite restaurant, and for quite a while now, we've been wondering if the people who used to serve us in such an elegant and cordial and nice way seem to have become different people. Some of them don't seem to be able to remember anything. They come back to the table once or twice or even three times. And some of them have changed completely into docile human beings. But we thought, well, we're just imagining things. But now it turns out that maybe we're not imagining things.
And people have also been saying, and I've witnessed this, that the changes are affective, that people that have always been affectionate, warm, loving have become cold, distant. Many people talk about adult children or bigger children, cutting things off, like saying things like, well, we're not aligned politically, so I'm not going to visit you anymore, and just what we've seen from to the end, kind of bizarre willingness, which I could only interpret in the light of mass hypnosis. Mass hypnosis.
I mean, it is so obvious. It's just the weird thing is that for some strange reason, but maybe it does have to do with personality changes induced by the so. It's only us, the resistance, that can see what's going on. The others can't see it, even if they're people dropping dead right and left. They can't see it. They don't make the connection. It's very bizarre.
Now, I have not been able to have a conversation with someone that has experienced that themselves personally, and when I've tried, it seems like it just doesn't work. However, you could tell that there was just something just a little off about them, and spiritually something has happened inside them. Physically, something has happened inside them, and it seemed like for about a period to 1 to 2 years or so, those changes were very, very evident. And now I say that it seems as if those people are more comfortable in their skin and they have been reset themselves to be comfortable with who they are. Now, of course, they would never tell you, but I'm sure most of the times they will never tell you. I'm looking for a testimony. If anyone has experienced this and they want to share what they've been through, contact me in some way. Leave a comment or do something so I could reach back out to you and we could talk about this. But I wanted to say that as they've continued to progress, they're more comfortable in their new selves. And now I'm also noticing that they've kind of reverted back to their old personality in a way, but they're new. Now, everything that I just said is very, very abstract. And if you have a spiritual eyes to see, then you are following me. However, I would say that those people who did survive, that are still alive from this thing, are different. They're coming in hand what would be called the new normal. So, as things seem to be normal again, we must realize that it is really a new normal. A reset is underway. And even though that, we're able to do things that we weren't able to do before, that we're able to move about, quote unquote, freely, there's still things that are in place that we may not deal with on a day-to-day basis at a certain level. But I will let you know, the higher you go up, in some of these corporations and organizations, that there are still mandates for the solution. There's still mandates for the thing that they rolled out to fight what they rolled out. If you follow me, you follow me, right? So that's still happening at a top level. So in order to get in certain jobs, to run in certain circles and go to certain events, you still have to prove that you've done certain things to your body. So even though you don't see it, and even on this level, and you're still able to travel to certain places that once you weren't able to travel to before, you're still able to book flights and go into certain establishments that you weren't able to go in before. do know that even though it seems to be normal, the reset is still underway. So this is why I say this, because in these last days, it's very important for us to know that, there may be peaks and valleys of activity, and we cannot go to sleep. We need to stay vigilant, and we need to stay awake, and we need to know how to take care of ourselves and not fall for the attack of Satan and his demons as they come in so many different ways and through so many different powers and entities. I think about, how this life is, or how the world is changed recently, and how life seems to not be the same, but yet it's kind of calmed down a little bit. If you take this as a point of resting and going to sleep, please don't do so. We need to stay awake. We need to stay vigilant. There's still things happening. They're still trying to distract us by rolling out certain celebrity topics and issues for everybody to look this way and look that way. We still got distraction of people pretending like certain people are the chosen ones, but they're not. And so they're coming up with different reasons for you to support the people who are not the people and the chosen people of the Most High. We've got wars and rumors of wars. We're still in the last days, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that life as we have it and the Most High has blessed us with is something that we are to live richly and enjoy. But we are a generation that has been called to be alive in these perilous times. In these days where so many things in the book of Revelations are jumping off the pages and right into the world before our eyes. And so I say that with this kind of disjointed message that I'm sending out today, is that even though it seems to be a little bit peaceful, and I use that word lightly, know that we're still underway in this new normal. I was at the store the other day, Costco, and you know that they're all the way part of the agenda. And I noticed that now they're saying new lower prices, and I noticed that toilet paper actually went down 50 cents. I can't remember if anything else that I noticed was lower, but after all this inflation, are we starting to see prices come down a little bit? Are we done with that? Or is it just for a second and things going to skyrocket again? That I don't have the answer to. But I don't want anyone to take this moment and this opportunity to see things and look around and say, hey, maybe things are getting back to quote unquote normal. Know that it's not the same. And the people who've taken the solution are not the same and will never be the same. There was this definite and most obvious spiritual disruption to their bodies. So I say this to let you know that if we continue to go forth and we walk with the Most High, that we must stay diligent and awake. We must be aware of everything around us, and we must not fall asleep again. I send this message out to you today almost as just a nudge, as a tap on the shoulder to let you know, hey, let's continue to enjoy life, but let's continue to be aware and not caught off guard, and get closer to the Most High and be prepared for everything He would have for us in the future. All praises. We give you praise, Father, and thank you for everything that you're sending us through this ministry, and we're just going to continue to go forth and do everything that you would call us to do. We pray this in the mighty name of Yahshua, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Until next time, peace.